We hear it all the time, right? The secret to success is to set these huge, audacious goals. It's in every self help book, every motivational speech. But here's a thought: what if that advice is actually setting us up for failure?
I mean, it's such a beautiful idea, isn't it? Shoot for the moon. It kind of promises that even if you fail, you're still gonna land somewhere amazing. And man, that single phrase, it's fueled so many dreams, so many ambitions. It's become like the undisputed rule for how you achieve something big.
But what if that's not the whole picture? What if missing the moon doesn't leave you floating among the stars, but instead sends you crashing right back down to Earth, and you feel even more defeated than when you first started?
So, in this explainer, we're going to dig into that exact problem. First, we'll talk about what I call the high goal hangover. Then, we'll get into a really powerful shift from doing to being. I'll lay out 4 simple steps to make that happen. And finally, we'll build out a smarter psychological toolkit for you to make real, lasting change.
All right, first up, the high goal hangover. Look, that go big or go home idea is everywhere, but the latest research is starting to show a pretty big dark side. The thing is, it turns out that when we set one of those really high, really specific goals and then miss it, the psychological damage can be, well, surprisingly big.
So, there was this study in 2021, and its title says it all: Goal Missed, Self-Hit. And what it found was that this kind of failure, it's not just some minor setback you can just brush off. No, it directly hits our emotional well-being, it absolutely crushes our motivation to try again, and it just chips away at our self-esteem. It's this nasty, vicious cycle that can lead you straight into total burnout. And here's the wildest part of that research: you could do something objectively amazing. I mean, really fantastic stuff. But if your measuring stick is that one massive moonshot goal, you still feel like a total failure. It's like your actual impressive achievement gets completely lost in the shadow of this impossible standard you set for yourself.
So here's the bottom line. The problem isn't your performance, it's your perception. We take that failure personally, we internalize it. Instead of just seeing it as, okay, I missed a target, we see it as a final verdict on who we are, a judgment that says, hey, you're not competent enough. And that's where the real damage happens.
Okay, so if setting these massive, outcome-focused goals can totally backfire, what's the alternative, right? Well, this brings us to a really fundamental and honestly a much more powerful shift in how we think. It's all about the difference between goals based on what you want to do versus habits based on who you want to be. Let me break this down for you. An outcome-based goal sounds like this: I want to run a marathon. See, it's a finish line. You cross it, and that's it. You're done. But an identity-based habit sounds like this: I am a runner. This is totally different. It's not about one single event. It's about who you are deep down. A runner runs, not just for one race, but because, well, that's just what runners do. And this, right here, is the absolute core of the idea. When you focus on identity-based habits, your actions stop feeling like chores you have to do. Instead, they become expressions of who you are. You're not dragging yourself to do something. You're just acting in a way that feels natural, that feels aligned with your sense of self. Okay, so how do we actually do this? How do we go from theory to practice? Let's walk through a really simple 4-step framework to help you move from just doing things to truly becoming someone. And you'll see it's a surprisingly simple process. Step 1, decide who you want to be. Step 2, start proving it to yourself with tiny, almost laughably small actions every day. Step 3, you've got to celebrate those small wins. Every time you do the thing, you reinforce that new identity. And finally, step 4, reflect on it. Take a second to notice how those actions are making this new identity feel more and more real. So instead of a huge goal like, I'm going to read 50 books this year, you just decide, I am a learner. And what does a learner do? Well, a learner reads 10 pages a day. Simple. Or instead of, I have to clean this whole house, it's, I am an organized person. And an organized person, they just make a daily to-do list, you see? Every single one of these small actions is like casting a vote for the person you want to become. Okay, so this whole identity-based approach is the foundation. It's the bedrock. But we can make it even stronger, even more resilient by adding a couple more science-backed strategies to our psychological toolkit. First off, we can switch our mindset from performance to learning. Think about it. A performance goal is all about proving you're good enough, which is why a setback feels so personal, like a failure.
But a learning goal? That's all about improving. A setback isn't a final verdict. It's just data. It's an opportunity to grow, which you'll notice fits perfectly with this whole idea of becoming someone new. Now, having a learning mindset is great for dealing with setbacks when they happen. But what if you could actually plan for them before they even show up? I mean, how can you effectively prepare for those obstacles that you know are going to get in your way eventually? Well, for this, there's a fantastic little tool called the WHOOP method. It's a simple 4-step exercise. You start with your wish, then you imagine the best outcome. Now, here's the really important part. You identify the main obstacle, specifically the inner obstacle that's going to stand in your way. And finally, you make a plan using a simple if-then statement. Like, if I feel too tired to read, then I will just put my phone in another room and open my book. What this does is it basically pre-programs your brain to handle that hurdle automatically when it shows up.
So, when you put it all together, avoiding that ambition trap, focusing on your identity, switching to a learning mindset, and planning for your obstacles, it all points to one really powerful truth. Real, lasting self-improvement isn't about just ticking off boxes or hitting some big target. It's about fundamentally changing who you are, one tiny, intentional step at a time.
So, in the end, the question we should be asking ourselves isn't what huge goal am I going to hit? The much smarter and way more powerful question is simply this: who do you want to become?